say some things that might be usable for the intro. Let's do that.
Intro. Say the podcast name. Say our names. And then share what we think it is.
Welcome to It's Happening for You.
For you. This is It's Happening for You, the podcast with Robin Meharry.
Harry, I couldn't remember how to say it again.
And
Stephanie Lentini. We love you.
love you. And then the music begins. It's so fun. It's so fun to have this every week because
I
there's
know.
so much moving through both of us and happening. And it's just so great to have a point where I can express and like share with somebody
Yes.
and you can do the same. And this was like the whole reason I even wanted to do this podcast is because it just feels so expansive, these conversations.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm just so thankful because there's so much that happens. And I think if you don't like slow down and be really like be present with it, you could miss the magic. And sometimes when then you're sharing it and expressing it to somebody else, it allows it to like really integrate, which is cool. It's just like, I love it. It's so fun. I love these conversations.
I feel like that's one of the biggest benefits of the biggest surprising benefits of getting regular coaching sessions is the reflection from the coach or from someone, the check-in point weekly, and then the reflection of what is changing. We're not always taking stock of it. And so, or as you say, like clocking it. And it's one of my favorite things to do is each week when I meet with someone, be like, okay, well, what have you noticed on this topic that we talked about last week, that we calibrated on? What have you noticed? And more often than not, Robin, people are like, oh, I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Whereas the previous week, it was a wobble. I mean, it was like a big fat, like hairy deal. You know what I mean?
Yes. All they could think about.
Exactly. And they're like, oh yeah, like it didn't really occur to me because that person has had the whole week off work or, whatever. Like just the funniest things are like, I've been spending money, but I haven't even been thinking about it, that sort of thing. And then also it's really fun to be that reflection point as well of like, dude, you asked for that. And like, here it is.
Yes. That is the best. Like reflecting that back to people and having them go, whoa, I didn't even realize. It's like, we talked about this 2 years ago. It's happening. It's happening for you.
It's just like, now it's just in your space and like, oh, but it just felt like so natural and so easy. That's how things happen. And that's also why, like, I think it's like not harder to recognize, but it's just because when something comes that you've been wanting, it usually comes when it feels like the next logical step.
Yes.
And so it's like, oh, of course it did. But you're like, well, 2 months ago or a year ago, that felt like there was a big gap. So let's like acknowledge that and be like, woohoo.
Yes.
You did it. And you did it with no effort. And anyway, that's like a coaching session, but also like we are getting to do that with each other each week. And I love it so much.
Me too. Me too. It's so great.
So tell me, where are you this week?
Okay, this
where
week.
Where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in like so much excitement. I'm in so much celebration. I'm in so much energy. And I think I did mention this last week, and I know I've mentioned it to you independently, but I was really going through a season of feeling quite tired. And so this is a realization I had over the weekend I texted you about.
Yes.
That I realized I was just like, there was this moment actually, I'm going to be completely like honest here, where I had worked out and I was sitting on the gym floor, like stretching. And I just was like, I'm so tired. And then I just started crying.
Mm,
And the tears that the crying actually what I felt was kind of like a judgment of why am I
mm,
so tired? I don't want to be
mhm,
tired. And this I was feeling this separation from
mhm,
what I was feeling in that moment into what I wanted to feel, right? And kind of
mhm,
like, this kind of ugh, heaviness around it. And
mhm.
so that brought the emotion. And then in that moment, like right behind it, I had that realization where I was like, well, no shit, I'm feeling tired all the time. All I'm telling myself, literally, I don't know how many times during the day, is I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I'm so tired telling everyone I'm so tired. And then guess what? I was tired. That's weird.
Yes.
And I kind of had this like light bulb moment was like, oh, let me change the language around this.
Mm,
Because when I'm saying tired, I'm so tired, there is like my vibration drops in it. So it's not
mhm.
like I'm saying I'm so tired and I'm like okay with it. I'm feeling fine.
Yes.
I'm not in a neutral space with it. I have, for me personally, I had judgment around it. So my vibration would drop every
Yeah.
time I thought it, every time I said it. So in that moment, I was like, what feels better for me to say to myself right
Mm,
now? Not changing that I need to like have all this energy, but what's something different? Another way to
yeah,
phrase it.
yeah.
And in that moment, I said, I'm upgrading, I'm
Mm,
recalibrating.
mm,
And instantly, I felt so much better.
mhm,
And so then that night, I believe it was that, because I think this was Sunday, that night, I gave myself permission. Like, it's funny how our minds are so freaking powerful. Because I think I was telling myself this thing of like, oh, I need to wake up at around this certain time every morning so that I
mhm,
have X amount of time to meditate, journal, do X, Y, and Z
mm,
before I start my day, blah, blah, blah. And so then my body, my internal clock would wake me up at that time every morning, no matter what time
mhm,
I went to bed. Well, with this new intention of like, I'm upgrading, I'm
mhm,
recalibrating, and I'm going
mhm.
to allow myself to sleep however long I need.
Permission slip, yeah.
Permission slip, babe. And I literally, I did wake up like at my usual time and I rolled over and went back to sleep
You
for an
went back to
hour.
sleep. Yes.
I felt like a new woman the next day. Like all of a sudden, I was like, my day was flowing, energy was present, vitality was present. And I kept saying to myself, I'm upgrading. This is so fun. This is so fun. I'm upgrading. And
Wow.
it was just like, I literally felt like a different person.
Oh
And it
my
happened
gosh.
that quick.
Yeah.
And every day it's felt that way. And I think there's multiple energetic things happening for me as,
Mm,
I'm having my new space put together for me to move into
mhm,
today. Um, there's just a lot of house stuff that has come together.
mhm.
And, that's all energy and it's all coming together this week. And so I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of like, flow coming with this,
Yes.
but with my change in mindset and perspective and language and my focus,
Yeah.
I just feel so different. And I now, like before, where it was kind of like, okay, like I can get through my day. Like, this is what I'm
Yeah.
just going to focus on today, get through my day. Didn't feel like I had the energy to do more than that.
Yeah.
Now I just feel like, it's almost like I have the same time, but I have so much more time. Like, that's how it
Mm,
feels. It feels like this expansion happening right now because I'm so in the flow. I don't know, it's just so exciting. So even like what we were talking about, how, you've been able to do a little bit more for the podcast and whatnot, I
mhm,
feel like there's this like doorway opening and there's light
mhm,
coming through where I'm like, oh, I'm about to have like, I can feel the energy coming
mm,
to support me having time and energy for all these other fun things that I've been wanting to focus on.
I'm having a
Anyways,
déjà vu right now.
are you?
So and I'm, like, zoned in, and the light's getting brighter, and you look like an angel, and I'm like, "Whoa, this is weird." I heard you say that before. That was Wild.
Wow, I look like an angel.
Well, I was, like,
I love
so
it.
focused on, like, your point of your body, it felt, like, otherworldly for a
Wow.
moment.
Wow. Wow. That was
The
amazing.
sun is coming through the clouds. I
Ah,
love okay, I just wanna point out how cool it is that you're, like, first recognize what you were saying and how powerful it is. Like, yeah, if you're telling yourself you're tired, what more can you really
yeah,
expect?
exactly. It's like,
Like,
duh.
but also catching the nuance of, like, when you were telling yourself you had to wake up at a certain point of time,
Mhm.
I feel like that's one of the things that I love to talk about is like, what are you telling yourself you have to do here? It's
Yeah,
like, well, we're eternal beings, at least that's how I feel about us. And
exactly.
there's no destination or endpoint. We're just evolving continuously through time and space. you know, in this
Yes.
lifetime and the next lifetime, there's nowhere to actually get to. And in human society and culture, there's a lot of emphasis on achievement and getting to a certain destination or place or salary or career or so on and so forth,
Yep.
that we just take on inherently. And that's a thing too with like spiritual practice, like I need to check all of these boxes off in order to prepare my grid or to make sure I get my day started on the right foot, but sometimes
Yes.
like sleeping is like the best thing you could possibly do for
Best.
yourself, and it's a sort of in the moment experience of tuning into you and your body and asking, like, "What is it that I'm needing right now? What would be the best thing for me? Is it meditation? Is it some journaling? Is it sleep? Is it what is
Mm.
it? What do I wanna do? Is it intense focus on a website or video editing or
Yep.
exercising?" I think exercising is another thing I've been really playing with. I got, like, super excited and I was like, "Oh, you're getting a routine, Stephanie. You're making gains and, like, there's progress going." And I've had this for the last few months on and off where I get really excited about the outcome, and then I
Yeah.
go, I sink my teeth in, and then it gets too intense, and then I pull back, and I've been doing it with food too, where I'm like, "I'm only eating protein and vegetables," and like, I had, like, a week where it's, like, all carbs because it's, like, this kind of I told myself I couldn't, and now I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm having
Yes.
carbs." And
Yep.
truly though,
Gosh.
like, I'm like, "Okay, not still not doing anything wrong, still not
No.
getting anything wrong, can't mess it up,
Nope.
can't do it wrong." I think this is the newest,
Mm.
most precious thing that, like, I can give myself, and I think that we can all give ourselves is that, like, permission to just not need to be perfect and
Yes.
think of everything as like an experiment, like looking for what feels best and finding balance and sometimes a little overdoing it and sometimes not. And like,
Yep.
anyway, that was a long rant about like what you were just talking about.
No, I
Just got
love
me
it.
real excited about it.
Oh, I love everything you just said because it's so true. It's just like that old programming of like an old contract almost like is how it was coming through when you were reflecting it
Mhm.
back to me of like, oh, in order for me to, I don't know, prove myself to myself and others that I get up at a certain time every day and I'm doing stuff, it's like, what? Like,
What?
the reality is, I don't start watching my friend's baby until 9 AM. I could
Yeah.
do whatever I want until then.
Yeah.
And I slept until 8 o'clock that day, and it felt fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It was the best thing I could have done for myself. And then it's amazing how the universe like works to support us in that because
Hmm.
I love doing a meditation practice in the morning. I love
Hmm.
journaling in the morning if I have time, but meditation for sure. It's just I love it. It's my favorite thing.
Hmm.
And so, that morning I had a little bit of a rush and the baby ended up sleeping for like 2.5 hours right out of the gate. So I
The baby
actually
slept so
had
you could chill.
I had until 11:30. I
The
watched it,
baby
I, like,
was
was
like,
yeah.
"I need to sleep too."
Yeah, yeah. It was, like, perfect. It was like I got everything done that I normally do in my mornings,
Yeah.
just adjusted, and it was just like the universe showed up. Like, I always whenever I start getting into this, like, limited mindset about time, of,
Time.
like, I've gotten really good about reminding myself in that moment when I realize that I'm like, "Oh, do I have enough time for this?" Or whatever,
Oh,
time, time,
yeah.
time. That I'll
Catching it.
go, everything that is meant to be happening right now is happening. And it will
Mhm.
be whatever is meant to be done in this amount of time will be done perfectly. And
Yeah.
every time I shift myself into that perspective,
Yeah.
the worry completely goes away.
Yep.
I'm back in flow. And guess what? Everything does work out perfectly. Timing
Yeah.
works out perfectly every time.
Yeah.
Every freaking time. Even if I'm quote unquote running late, then the person I'm supposed to be meeting with or whatever will text me and
Mhm.
say, they're running late, or can we push this back? And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, we can. That actually is great. Because
Yeah.
I needed that adjustment too. So it's amazing to me. It happens 100% of the time.
Well,
100% of the time
that's
for me.
that's a vibration too,
Yes.
The vibration of and time is such a common one that is, like, just ridden with lack, I
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
I don't have enough of it,
Yes. Yes.
and as the awareness of that vibration, comes to the forefront, then we have the opportunity to choose something else and to establish, like, a more, solid vibration of there's plenty.
Plenty.
I have enough and more. It's so similar to, like, money too, like abundance.
Yes.
Like, it's just like you're feeling like there's a lack and your environment is reflecting it because it's your vibration of it. You're feeling abundant and you're feeling like there's plenty and your environment reflects it. It's our vibration.
Yes.
And it's fun to catch it though and be like, "Oh, I'm like totally like thinking that I'm gonna run out of time or something."
Yes.
Just I whenever I'm aware of that, it's not often, I tend to move quite slowly and I have like t- just I just have set up a situation for myself where I have like lots of time, and I just
Yeah.
love that. But when I
Yes.
notice a speedy energy, I'm just like I chill, I stop and I slow down.
So good.
Like that day, remember when I texted you and I was like, "We better record now or it's not gonna
Yeah.
happen." And then I was like, "Okay, chill, Stephanie, like, go lay on the couch." Like,
I had never heard you come through like that. I was like,
I was
"Oh,
excited.
shit.
It's usually
We
that I
gotta
get
go."
that way when I'm excited
Yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
It's not like I feel rushed, I'm just, like, really excited and then still, like, that excitement of like, urgency is still lackful in and of itself, at
Yeah.
times. It's like, "We gotta do this because, and it's like,
Yeah.
that can calm down too.
Yeah.
No rush.
Yeah. It's not going anywhere.
We'll we'll get to talk to each other,
Yes,
whatever it
yes.
is. Just breathe,
Ah,
chill."
slowing down, man. That's like the
Mhm.
council always says, slow down. Well, they say this they're the ex oh my gosh, now I'm gonna totally get it wrong. The
I always forget it. You remind
acceleration
me.
point is in the stillness, or a stillness is fucking well, because then the first thing that came to mind was like what everybody else says, like slow
Slow
down to
down to
speed
speed
up.
up.
Yeah. And that came in and then couldn't remember the other. Okay, yeah. Stillness is the access point for acceleration. There we go.
Mhm.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. They came through. They're like, we'll help you.
Stillness is the access point for acceleration.
Yeah.
I think I was texting you about that this like or someone, I was telling someone like, okay, I'm in a period of calm and rest after I had like a fire hose of energy and flow last week and inspiration. Then it just was like,
Yeah.
and it didn't feel bad. It
Mhm.
felt good to
Yeah.
stop that intensity for like a moment because my
Yeah.
mind was um, really active too. And it feels nice to stop chewing on things for a minute and just be like, "Bleh,"
Yeah. Totally.
like that feels nice too. But I think you and I were talking about how, sometimes we just emphasize the movement part of
Yes.
the creation process. Like that feels like the more important, like getting things done part of it. But I love that reminder. Like, I mean, it's a process, and there's like any cycle, there's different aspects of it, and rest
Yeah.
or stillness and pause and breath and the exhale or the inhale or whatever, the pause between them, like they're all necessary in creating something. And then also at the end of the day, we're always going to be creating more and more and more things. And so it's like
Everything.
there's
Yes.
no like it's a circle. So there's nowhere to get to.
Boom. Literally, all I kept seeing when you were talking was a circle being drawn. It's a
Yeah.
whole. It's
Me
part
too.
of the whole. And so then you, of course, said circle. I'm like, yep, there you go. That's it.
I love it. I love that you get your intuitive hits and you're like, I'm like, "What else is coming through?" But I'm sure you tell us. You tell me
Yeah.
when it's coming through.
Yeah.
I
For the
see
most part, I
circles
do.
too.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's so cool. It's fun. It's fun to share this stuff, and like, and then as we're sharing, it's bringing more awareness to it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. Okay. Like, I can see clearly what I was doing to create my reality, right?
Mm,
Like,
mhm,
and I am a master of my reality. And that's so cool. I kept saying I'm tired, and then my body was tired.
mm,
Isn't that awesome? And it's like,
mm,
oh, now I'm saying I'm upgrading, I'm recalibrating, and I feel energy. I feel energy coming back into my system.
mhm,
It's so cool. It's so fun to see this, like how this works and feel it.
mhm. Totally agree.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, this is totally a sidestep too, but I just got my EDC ticket. Total
Wait,
sidestep. Look.
yeah, wait, you had to tell me how that came about.
Oh,
Because that last time we were talking about, you were like, it
with a
wasn't
little bit of
choiceless yet.
with a little bit of it was a it almost felt like an access point for me to like burst into the next
Mm.
level of
Okay.
something.
Okay. I love it.
And I'll explain a little bit more, but look at how cool this is. Oh, well,
Oh,
I got my background
oh,
on. It's
oh
like
my
a
gosh,
full
that's so
pop-up.
cool. Wait, they send you that?
Yes. Okay. Okay, that's it's not satisfying, but it's a full like box thing that just
Wow.
it opens more and there's all these goodies. I'll show you the goodies.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
These patches,
Oh,
these
how
are
fun.
patches. Like
Can you hear the patches? Some
the
more
stickers.
patches.
These are stickers. There's an eye mask.
Ooh, I love eye mask.
Oh my gosh, and a keychain. And then this is like your ticket to get in. So
Okay, that's rad.
wristband.
I,
Um
I never remember receiving anything like that when I used to go to festivals. They have really upped their game.
yeah, totally next level, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, Steph, I'm so excited for you. You guys are gonna have so much fun.
Yeah, it was like, okay, I was like, this
Yeah.
last week was like the
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
get like, I just I had the the cost of the ticket felt like just absurd. And it
Yeah.
was funny because I signed up for like a human design session in like a second. As soon as I thought I wanted it, I just like sent the money to through Venmo, and it's like 225
Yeah,
for
it's so
like
cheap.
an hour session, but it's gonna be like for Thomas and I, and I'm so
Oh,
excited to like,
cool.
oh my gosh.
Nice.
But this was just, it didn't feel like that. And what's really cool is that it opened up a lot of discussion and conversation between Gina and I, which if I had just purchased the ticket immediately, wouldn't have, I
Yeah.
don't think would have, it would have, we would have talked about these things, but it was like EDC was sort of the entry point to discuss like some of the other feelings I was having in general.
Cool.
And it's shown me, it's happening for me. It's shown me this area of my life that like, excuse me, I have had um probably the most amount of resistance and like limiting
Mm.
stories on, and that's like friendships.
On wait. You have limiting stories around friendships?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love learning more about you, Steph. This is so fun. Tell me
Yeah.
more.
And
I'm
it's funny.
shocked to hear that.
It makes sense that the only time I've ever gotten in this hot seat with Abraham, I asked about relating to people, not
Interesting.
boyfriends, but people in general.
Okay, tell me more.
And it's like probably one of my stickier topics that I've just felt different from people through my life. That was a story
Mm,
that gets accentuated through typically female to female relationships for me.
mhm, mhm,
And I've had like throughout my life, usually one-on-one friendships for a period
mm.
of time. It's really like we're like all about each other for a period of time, and then we're not friends anymore. And this was like my pattern growing up. You know, I had like a friend in 5th grade and a friend in 6th grade. I skipped 6th grade, a friend in 7th grade, a friend in 8th grade. Um, and in middle school and high school, I had more like friend groups, but I always had like my one girlfriend.
Mhm.
And as I got older, I just ended up focusing my attention more on intimate relationships, and those became like my primary source of friendship as well.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just so interesting that it's not been a topic that I've like calibrated a ton. Um, and it's not even a topic that like I necessarily willingly step into and I'm like, I want to change this story.
Mhm.
It almost feels like I don't really need to, you know, I'm fine without it, you know? I create relationships with people in new ways now, but Gina's one of those people for me that like, you know, I get to grow and expand with her, and
Yeah.
she just like like fucking God, she just like loves me and adores me so much that like even when I go through my little like you know phases where I'm just like, ah, this is uncomfortable, she's just like there, you know,
Mm.
and gives me permission to have my things and also knows it's not personal. You know,
Yes.
and I feel like it's a new opportunity for me to like actually explore these topics and like
Yeah.
benefit from expansion and new storytelling around this
Yes. Yeah.
particular area of life. There's
Mm.
a part of me that's like, "Oh," like, you know, "Oh, I don't even, ooh, it's uncomfortable to even talk about," to be like, "This is my sensitive spot,
Yeah, my vulnerability.
this is my sensitive spot." This and, like, money, but money's easier for me to be like, "Oh, yeah," because I've seen, expansion and growth in that area, and it's something that I've calibrated a ton. So,
Yeah.
there's been, lots of change in that topic, but it feels like almost you know?
Mm.
Like, oh, now I'm turning my attention
Mm.
to body and self-image and self-love and that sort of thing, and physical activity and my interests regarding the outdoors. Like that's another
Mm.
thing that like came up in a calibration this week that I was like, whoa. Anyway, I
Wait, but how so?
okay,
What came
well,
up around it? Sorry.
no, I
I'm
was
so
like,
curious.
I realized that with climbing, with everything, that one of the stories I've told over time is that I am not good at making plans and I don't have my own interests and I just follow what my boyfriends do.
Mm.
And if they're not doing the planning, then there's no fun to be had in life.
Wow. That's a pretty strong story and a pretty limited one.
I know. And it's just coming to my attention.
Wow.
It's like, I've been doing the work of actively looking at stories and calibrating them, calibrating to new perspectives over the last 2 years pretty intensely. And
Mhm.
as I mentioned, I started with money and my intimate relationship with Thomas, my relationship with my dad. Um, those are probably the topics I started with and experienced big release of old overarching stories that obviously impact all topics,
Mhm.
not just those.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I'm getting to like another layer, a more nuanced thing. And the reason I became even aware of that story I was telling about the outdoors and stuff is because
Mhm.
I was thinking, oh, I miss doing things. Like I used to go snowboarding all the time and I used to go rock climbing all the time and go camping and I just miss doing that stuff as if I can't still do it.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, I'm like waiting for someone to do it for me.
Mhm.
And then I was like, oh, I've been telling myself I can't do it myself. Like I'm not capable of that.
Mhm.
So this stuff is new. It like
Mhm.
all like literally came up in a calibration the other day that I received from uh Terry Thomas. And it was sort of like this whoa. Just like when you're like, I'm telling myself I'm tired and I don't have to.
Can I say something that's coming through as you're talking
Yeah,
about this?
say it.
And it's okay, obviously if it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate, but
Yeah.
it feel even with like um what happened with me, you know? It was like the awareness came in that I was telling myself a story and then it was like dropped. It
Yeah.
was like instantly I was like, "Oh, well, that doesn't need to be my story anymore." There
Yeah.
was no deep diving into it that I needed to do. I didn't need to go dig into it and figure out why I've been telling myself that story and unravel things from myself from it or anything. It
Yeah.
was instant, oh, well, that's silly. Here's my new
Yes.
one. And it
Mhm.
feels it actually, and what's coming through for me when you're talking about that is that it's actually, you could do that too. Like
Oh, yeah.
that is here. Like you are not that person. You know that. You
Mhm.
are different today than you were a couple days ago, a week ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. You're a completely different person.
Mhm.
And that you're capable of making those plans or things now that
Mhm.
it's in your awareness that you want to go do it. And I would just encourage because I heard the drop in kind of like your energy when you kind of went, whoa, oh my gosh, I've been telling myself that story. No, it's just an old silly story. Just
Yeah.
an old silly story. What do you want to create now?
Yeah.
And and totally, if you need to and want to, like, go explore that more for yourself and feel like you need to do, recalibrations on it, do it. But what was coming through really clearly is like, it doesn't need to be that deep. Like, you are a different person.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
so, and it's cool to be able, because I don't know the past you. I only know you here and now. And I'm like, well, that's funny. That's just sounds like an old silly story that Steph has been carrying on for a bit,
totally.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, like that is it's obvious that that's available to me. Like I know that with the awareness, then it can be different. It is different because of the awareness. But also like when I think about going rock climbing, all this old fear still comes up
What's
and
the fear
it's
in
like
that?
just it's like that old story. Just because I became aware of it doesn't mean the momentum has died off all the way. I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, do I really want to do it? And like, what if I'm not strong enough? It's like all
Mhm.
these little threads of what was related to that overarching story.
Mhm.
It's so funny. We've never talked like this, and I feel like I'm going to cry, and maybe I will. And who
Yeah,
cares if
let
I
it out.
do?
Exactly.
But it's like, I actually think it's such a great discussion and one in which sometimes you and I might see change differently. Like, how
Mhm.
quickly can the story be dropped?
Mhm.
And I, I don't want to argue for it takes a long time, but I do acknowledge that I don't feel like, oh, tomorrow I'm just going to plan a girls' climbing trip,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
I did in the past. I feel like
Mhm.
I'm going to start recognizing for myself how I do plan stuff. I mean, I plan an entire European vacation for
Yeah.
me and like 7
Exactly.
other people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like I do plan things and I'm great at it. I planned a whole summer backpacking trip for my brother and I. There's a piece where maybe my interests have changed and maybe I'm
Mhm.
not as interested in rock climbing, but also rock climbing has been an area, it's like friendships where it just brought up so much insecurity within me that it was easier to cover the mirror than continue to partake in an activity that was fun. It was like
Mhm.
less fun than fun because
Yes.
of the my own insecurities that came up when I would do it.
Yes.
But I'm also recognizing like I have a desire to like enjoy it and have fun with rock climbing. Like it's so cool. The
Yes.
way that you get to move your body and the strength that you develop and the
Yeah.
mental capacity that you develop in your focus and attention, like there are so many cool things about it. I guess what I'm saying is like I don't feel ready to spring into like full action
Mhm.
with just like and maybe tomorrow I will, you know? But
Right.
there's still like when I think about going bouldering or whatever, I'm just kind of like, ooh. And 2 years ago, I was just going out bouldering all the time by myself.
Yeah.
So whatever I've been telling myself over the last 2 years, maybe though it's that those things I'm not fully aware of.
Yeah.
And they're still sort of informing my decisions. They're still informing my actions. I am never a proponent or a fan of like digging down deep. I only do that in calibration
Yeah.
sessions
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, I'm noticing that like I have a desire to go bouldering, but there's like this drop in my stomach when I think about that. I'll bring that to a calibration
Yeah.
and it's sort of like peeling back the layers of the onion so that um, I'm able to have a relationship with my desire, in this case with rock climbing, and
Mhm.
my ability to do it that feels more unfettered, It
Mhm.
feels easier, it feels flowing, it feels more to my desire when I think about rock climbing. The thoughts that are available to me are like limitless,
Mhm.
unlimited, full of
Yeah.
possibility and full of appreciation.
Yeah.
It's just been like momentum over
Yeah.
time of like telling a icky, icky, silly story. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Um,
I think there's like 2 separate things here.
mhm. Yeah, tell me about
And
it.
the thing
We're
that
like a full on coaching session right
I know,
now.
I love it, I love it. And, like, I always say this is it's what's coming through in when I'm listening, and that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that that's accurate, you know,
No, I
it
know you
might
just
not.
say it and it can be it is what it is. I
Exactly,
get
and it
it.
unravels and hopefully creates more clarity, and I feel like
Exactly.
that's exactly what kinda just happened. Is because originally you talked about the planning kind of piece and it being
Yes.
associated with, like, a relationship, and it
Yes.
doesn't actually feel like that's the core thing, and
No.
that's where
Yeah.
it felt like, well, that feels like an easy switch because that's, like,
Yes.
not who you are anymore. The piece that you just brought through after more discussion was the
Mhm.
body piece.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
feels
yeah.
more associated with your body, your physical
Totally.
form.
I didn't even
And
say
that,
that, but, like,
yeah.
yeah, there for me, it was, like, so much comparison with my body and other bodies and
Mm,
what we were capable of.
I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, someone that also just is on this body journey, and we could have a whole episode on that because I would love to, because
We
it's
kind of are
we kind of are
in
right
some
now.
way.
We're dipping our toes in it, but for me, I definitely could talk a lot longer about it, and it's
Yeah.
fun because I'm in this process of really, um, yeah, creating new neural pathways and new perspectives and ways of thinking about my body and
Yeah.
movement and different ways of associating
Yes.
myself with my body. But that's, I mean, it just, so I completely understand the comparison. Like for
Mm.
me, I wouldn't even try to rock climb. Like that
Yeah.
makes you so scared. But then when you're talking about like using your physical body to like pull yourself up and climb, it's like, fuck, that's amazing. I think that's just like so incredible and so inspiring. Um, but yeah, it just feels that that's your sticking point
I
to doing that.
This is so good and so fun. It's really cool to just look at, like, from a broad perspective, I've been on this topic focusing on what I didn't like
Yeah.
about the community, about my capabilities, about my body,
Mm.
about types of rock, about approaches, about shoes,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, about the clothes that we wear, the helmets. It was just like,
Wow.
it's just evidence of sloppy focus, sloppy thinking.
Mm.
And so now, the tide of the desire is returning,
Mhm.
and it's like showing me that there was sloppy focus on this topic. It doesn't mean I actually feel ready to look at it. It doesn't mean I
Yeah.
need to look away anymore.
Yep.
Um, and obviously this conversation is just like so illuminating for so many reasons of like, oh yeah, like whatever it is that is my tool is calibration, whatever is your
Mhm.
tool. I'm like, I'm ready to look at this topic. And I don't mean I'm going to like do exposure therapy and throw myself out. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
ready to go on the climbing trip yet. I don't
Yes.
actually feel ready to take the action. I don't feel fully lined up with the action of it. I feel
Mm.
like it's more of a vibrational
Yep.
um, world that I'm excited to play in for now, which is
Yeah.
like, oh, when I think about going bouldering or I think about sport climbing, what comes up? And
Yeah.
let me just be aware of that and soothe it and choose something new. And then the next time I think of it, actually, this is so fucking cool and profound. The next time I think of it, a new thought might come up. And then what would I like to choose instead? And as that's like literally me preparing my vibration specific to a topic or specific to a desire. And then the opportunity to climb will literally come to me. I won't have to take tremendous effort or
Yes.
action to like put
Yep.
myself out there and
100%.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Show myself that I can do it. You know what stuff you've done it before, you can do it again. That's the
Get
sort of
yourself back on that rock right now.
exactly. I don't feel ready for that. I feel like there's so
No.
much more to do
That
before
would
that
be
than
but that would be so forcing and efforting, right? Like, you would be forcing
but
that
people
if you did that, and people
take that
that's how people
approach with
do. Mhm.
a lot of things.
Dude, I used to. 100%. Like, that's a really that I feel like is some really common advice that we all get, right?
Yeah.
Is like, just hop back up on the bike. Just
You know
do
what?
it.
Just yeah,
Just do it,
you
Nike.
just have to do it. Like, and then you'll build the confidence. And I'm
Yes.
like, you know what? I'm gonna build the confidence internally first so that when I do it, there's comfort and ease within the experience of it.
And
It's coming from a
enjoyment.
enjoyment. There's
Yeah.
desire, like there's yeah, like I'm enjoying this process. I'm
Yeah.
not just doing it because I gotta
Yeah.
bust through the resistance.
Yes. I have to like feel the punishment first
Yeah,
to then feel the joy. What? What?
exactly.
Like that doesn't even make sense anymore to me. But that's how I used to operate 100%.
Wow. How cool.
I know, right? So
Thanks for
cool.
going there with me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for sharing. It's so
I was, like, pink in the cheeks, and I was, like, about to cry, like, "Oh, I don't think I'm allowed to talk about this right now."
No,
There's no bad emotion, there's no bad thought, can't get it
exactly.
wrong.
Can't get it wrong. And this is like what's special about our podcasts and our time together and just talking
Well,
is
this
like,
is a new aspect of it. Who knew?
yeah. I mean, I knew that this inevitably was going to come, right? Because we're sharing about what's real for us here in this now, right?
Yeah,
So that's going to be all things. And I
yeah,
want it to be all things because that's authentic, that's genuine, right?
yeah.
Um,
Speaking of genuine, though, I
mm,
really need to pee, and I'm gonna just
pause.
pause this. Hola. So it's really funny while I was, doing that, I was thinking about at the gym today, this guy started talking to me, and of course, it was happening for me, but I was slightly annoyed because I'm like, "What?"
In your zone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to
Yeah,
take
like,
out your AirPod. Yeah.
"What do you wanna talk about?" He's like, "Are you an athlete?" And I don't know why, but I was like, "No." And then he was like, "Oh, okay." And I'm not. So I said no because like, whatever, but also I kind of am.
Yes. Just
Athlete.
because you don't do it professionally.
I know, but I'm so glad that this was our very brief conversation. He was like, "Did
Mhm.
you play soccer when you were younger?" And I was like, "Yes." I don't know how you could tell that, but like, you know, different sports, different types of bodies, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I heard myself saying, "I'm a rock climber." And he was like, "Oh, Alex Honnold, I love rock climbing. I'm not much of a rock climber myself, but like, are you friends with Alex Honnold?" And I was like, "We're besties." And I was just joking. And I
Oh,
was like,
okay.
"No, I'm just kidding. We're not friends, but it's a pretty small community. I know where his house is, like he
Yeah.
lives right down the street." Um, and then I said to him, "I'm here at the gym trying to get stronger so I can go rock climbing again and enjoy it." And I was
Funny.
like, "Huh, those are some funny automatic thoughts coming out of my brain into my
Yeah.
mouth and out of my mouth and speaking to some stranger." And
Yeah.
is that actually what I'd like to keep saying?
Yeah.
That's not why I went to the gym today. I went to the gym today because I was like, I got 4 hours and I wanna listen to bump some EDM tunes. You know what I mean? Like, I wanna listen to
Yeah.
some music and pump some weights. It wasn't
Yeah.
like so I can have more fun when I'm rock climbing. I realize it's not about my strength that detracts from the fun of rock climbing, it's my thoughts.
Yeah. My gosh. Boom. Like back to exactly where this conversation started with me sharing how I was like, holy shit, our minds are so powerful. Our thoughts are
Yeah.
so powerful. Same.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's crazy when we change the language around stuff, our in our thoughts or how we're speaking to others,
Mhm.
how literally your reality changes
It does.
in that regard. It's wild. I mean, this is awareness. This is awareness 101, right? Like, this is what awareness is all about. But this is
But
how
it's
you raise your awareness levels,
yes, and
right?
it's like constant reminder. It's like, "Oh, I do it on this topic too.
Yep.
Oh, I can apply it here too.
Yes.
Oh, I can apply it there too.
Yes.
Oh, I can apply it to food. Oh, I can apply
Yes.
it to, you know, I can
Yep.
apply it to
Mm.
work. I don't know, to
Everything.
raising children. I can
Yes.
apply it there too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And like through that process, like all I'm hearing right now is by doing so, when we, are changing our language and our thoughts and our focus and therefore our vibration, right?
Yes.
Around something, vibration equals feelings around something,
Yeah.
that then you're putting yourself into a place, and this goes back to exactly what you were saying about allowing. Then you're
Mm,
allowing things to come to you. And
mm,
just like you were saying with rock climbing, is then you don't have to go out and find a group or find a
mm.
way to make rock climbing happen. It will show itself to you because you're allowing it to come.
Exactly, and it'll feel like a yes when
Yes.
the invitation arises. The other day I was like, "Oh, I wanna rock climb? Okay, I've got a partner. Let me just tell him I wanna go rock climbing." And Thomas got off work early, and I was like, "Let's go rock climbing this afternoon." And he was like, "Okay." And then he came home and he was like, "Do you wanna go rock climbing?" And I was just like, "Well, do you?" And then he was like, "Well, it's a really hot day. It's a Saturday and it's like 90 degrees in the sun. Like, it's gonna be miserable." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." And then he was like, "But if you wanna go, like, I'll go." And I was just like, I guess we should. I mean, it was my idea." And I was just like, "Oh, I've got the worst split energy about this." I
Yeah,
was like, he was just that direct reflection of my split energy. And
totally.
he was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know.
wish I knew." I wanted to feel good. I don't wanna make myself do this right now. And I went upstairs and I closed the door and I lay in bed and I was just like, "Oh, I don't have to do this." And then I went back down and he asked me a few more times. I was like, "I don't wanna talk about it anymore. We're not going rock climbing today." And he wasn't mad or
Yeah.
anything. It was just like I was I used to get upset with him or
Yeah.
whoever. Just make up your mind. It's like I wasn't making up my mind. It was my
1,000%.
suggestion.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I wish I knew." You know?
Yeah.
So in that moment, and also after this conversation, I'm like, "Oh, I can just clearly see that like it's the vibration that needs to be cleaned up before I take any action.
Mhm.
Otherwise the action is just gonna kind of feel crappy, you know?"
Totally.
At least on this
Gosh.
topic, it's not like make or
Yes.
break. I don't have to.
No.
Like, I
Exactly.
have
We're
to
not
go.
talking about anything serious here.
So it's like, just wait until it feels fun and easy and like, also for me, continue to take a look at it from time to time and just see where it's at.
Yeah.
Notice if there's any discomfort around it and allow myself to release that. And
Yeah.
what's there now? And what's there now? And what's there
Exactly.
now, you know? And
It's
then
so, yeah.
release it.
It's funny, like in my meditation this morning, I don't remember the whole premise of it, but as you're saying those words, that's what was coming through so clearly. It was just like here and now, here and now, here and now. What's
It's
here
no
and
wonder
now?
you did not want to talk about last week.
I know. I'm like, I
You
don't
were
know.
like, this is coming through really strongly. I don't give a shit.
No. Exactly. And don't make me, okay? I'm not going to do it.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah. That is so funny. Like, yeah, obviously. Ah.
Wow.
Mm.
I feel like this like deep sigh, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Feels so good to sigh.
it feels so good. Oh. It's like the epitome, the physical action of relief, you know, just
Yes.
like, oh, it can get better about this too. I can choose here too. This doesn't have to be this way. I get to choose, you know, at least for me right now, those are like the relieving thoughts. It's like,
Yes.
yeah. Also, I don't have to make myself do it. Oh, you. I don't
Oh,
have to wake up at 6 a.m.
exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. Oh,
Oh.
oh, thank you. It's like your nervous system relaxes instantly when you give yourself permission. It's like, oh, thank God. Thank you. That's all I've been wanting.
You mean there's no rules?
Yeah, there's no rules. There's no template. I sent like a little meme to my friend recently because she's, exploring, infinite possibilities right now.
Mhm.
And she comes from a background of having, structure and templates and whatnot.
Mhm.
And so I sent her from Back to the Future, like, are you familiar? Have you seen Back to the Future?
I've seen it, but I couldn't quote it.
Oh my
So,
goodness. One of my favorite movies of all time, by the way. I've seen it 1,000 times. I love the whole series. But Doc will, at the end of the first movie, he puts on his sunglasses and he's like, where we're going, there are no roads. And I was like, that is like the perfect like perfect way to say this. Like there are no set directions or roads or templates to any of this,
no.
you know?
That's the title of this podcast episode. Where we're going, there are no roads.
Yes. Oh, I love it. That's perfect. I love it. I love it.
I love how everyone gets to hear us talking things out.
I know, same. Same.
I guess that's probably not that unusual. And there's no template. What's
There's
usual?
no template. Mm-mm.
Oh, wow. I want you to pull a card. Did you pull one today?
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. No. I'll pull one.
I'm
like
like,
a pull.
yay, let's pull a card.
Yeah, that's so fun. I'm gonna pull one from my oldest card deck that I have.
Ooh, fun.
That's Doreen Virtue Healing with the Angels.
Shut up.
What?
As you've been pulling cards, I was like, I miss my Doreen Virtue deck. My friend used to have one called Messages from the Angels.
Oh,
And
how funny.
I looked on eBay to buy one and I didn't press buy for whatever reason. They have them. You've got it.
I got it.
Different deck, but it's an Angels deck
Yes.
by Doreen Virtue.
Yes.
You know, she like this is
Yep.
just sort of gossipy, but
Yeah,
she like renounced like the whole thing and
Oh,
was like,
yeah. No,
so getting her decks is like kind of like
I was gonna
you have a
say
relic.
that's so funny. I didn't realize, like, yeah, as you were talking about going on eBay, I'm like, oh, I wonder if it's because, yeah, she's not
You can't buy them
allowing.
on like Hay House or anything like
Yeah.
that, so you have to buy it from someone who owns it,
You know what's
which
funny? There was a
but
moment a couple years ago where I was pulling cards on a daily basis and putting them on my Instagram,
yeah.
and I would pull from this card deck. She messaged me.
What?
Yeah, she messaged me and said, because I tagged her in it or whatever, and she said, yeah, I'm so glad that something along the lines of like, I'm glad if the cards are, serving the purpose for you, but I want you to watch this YouTube video I put together to explain why I don't back the cards anymore, or I don't know what the
Okay.
language she used around it, but
Yeah.
it was really interesting. And I was like, thanks.
Talk about
Thanks for the
evolution.
information. I'm gonna keep using them.
I
But
love them. Oh my gosh, I'm
I
totally gonna
love
go buy
them.
the messages from the angels,
I
like,
love
when we get
that.
off the call today.
I love it. I've had these for, I don't even know how long.
Can we see the
Forever.
box?
Yes.
Healing with the Angels,
Healing
Doreen
with the
Virtue.
angels. Okay.
Love it.
Hmm. Can you guess? Can you guess what the card's going to be? I mean, probably not, but it's perfect.
Body care, love it. Okay.
Body
I thought
care.
I was gonna say where we're going, there are no roads.
I know, right? No, these cards are more like one word, like,
Topic
very,
sort of thing.
yeah, exactly. Very direct,
Okay.
by how perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, kind of what came through for most of this episode was talking about the body, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Um, that's just so funny. And do you want me to read
Yeah.
a little bit? The
Yes.
angels urge you to, and by the way, I just flipped it right open to the page. So it's our card. There's no mistaking on
There's no
that.
mistake.
The angels urge you to care for your physical body. You're asked to eat healthy foods, to exercise regularly, and to avoid toxins. This card is your angel's way of asking you to pay attention to your physical body. Perhaps you resist this guidance, and angels have repeatedly come to you about this topic. They remind you that the body is an instrument that, when well tuned, emanates greater harmony. Your spirit is like the music of a grand piano, and angels ask you to maintain that piano. Your angels know that if you follow this guidance, you will feel terrific. Your increased energy and happiness is your reward for following the angels' suggestions. They will help you find the time and motivation to exercise. They will also help you lose your cravings for unhealthy healthy substances. And the angels will help you enjoy the newfound pleasures that come from purifying and maintaining your physical body. So,
Okay. So I would almost agree with Doreen that she can get rid of this deck. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah, no. But
I'm
it
just-
is.
we do this. We do purify our bodies vibrationally
Yes.
first.
Yes.
And then all of this stuff that we
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's our vibration.
It's our
It's
vibration.
not the actions we're taking.
No.
Because you can take so much action to achieve a healthy body, and those are going to be per the standards of somebody.
Yeah.
But if you're not addressing the vibration, it's
No. Okay,
no.
there's two things I want to say about this. First, I
love
usually don't read her messages in her book.
Mhm.
I use the cards as guiding posts for my own intuition. Like when they
Yes.
come out, then I know exactly what it means. And so when this came out, immediately what I took from this was exactly what we talked about. I felt like it mirrored and reflected back to us talking about how
Yes.
to approach the body vibrationally, like you just
Yes.
talked about. I was like, great, confirmation, boom.
Yes.
The description on that didn't follow that. But I always remember this story that my one of my intuitive counselors from years ago told me how there was a yogi that ate Cheetos every day and drank a Coca-Cola every day. He loved them. So he had that every day. And he had a six pack. He was in the best health ever. And it is all because he didn't, when he was consuming those items, he wasn't thinking about them as, oh, these are horrible for me.
Mhm.
These are going to, be really bad for me, blah, blah, blah. No, he was taking them in with so much joy and so much love that then
Mhm.
his body responded to that vibration.
Yes.
So I always think about that because I think that is like the epitome of it, right? It really doesn't matter what you're consuming, it's your thoughts around it that is alchemizing it within your system. The council talks about this a lot too.
So does Abraham. They say, it's not what you eat, it's what you think about or what you're thinking about when you're eating it that
Yep.
matters most. Um, it also just shows me, um, for my own pleasure where I am now and
Mhm.
how I feel about all topics that are important to me.
Yeah,
I just feel so steady and sure in that, like, it's not about the action.
totally.
It has nothing
Completely.
to do with the action because those particular things that were mentioned in, you know, it in that book
Description, yeah.
were like exercise,
Eat healthy.
eat healthy, avoid toxins,
Yeah.
right? And these used to be on my list. They
Yep.
used to be on my checklist. There were a
Yep.
lot of things on my spiritual and healthy checklist that just felt like that list just got longer and longer and longer, and I never did it, but it was always there and it was
Yeah.
always looming. And it was like, it was all those things, plus it was meditate and it was do yoga and it was do your breathing techniques and it was
So
all these
much.
tools. It's
Yeah.
like, that's not addressing, it's like putting a band-aid over a
Yes.
deep gaping wound of terrible focus
Yes.
and
Yes.
attention to lack of health. If we're just talking about body and health, you're like, oh, I don't like this thing, I let me take an action to change it, and
Yep.
so your attention and your awareness is like in an imperfection or
Yep.
something that's out of balance. And just by way of giving our attention to that, what I know now so fully, just like so loving that I do is like, that's not, I don't have to do that anymore.
Nope. Nope. Mm-mm.
Oh, what a relief. We'll do
I
another
know.
round of sighs.
Seriously. Because it's like, it's this, that whole premise too. Like, if we're talking about, the body and weight loss, right?
Yeah.
You can get to some type of goal, through force and effort
Yeah.
and through pushing through that resistance, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And you'll see results, right? Like, you could do it that way.
Yeah.
And when you get to where you think you wanted to get, where then then would be the kind of key to your happiness,
Mhm.
like a particular weight or a particular size pants or whatever. How many times have I've experienced this myself. I've heard other women, other men, anybody talk about this,
Mhm.
is that they get to that weight and they're still not happy. They
Mhm.
still, then there's this whole kind of thing that happens too, that they were expecting this huge feeling and change when they got there and it doesn't happen.
Mhm.
And then there's also a morphed perception of what their body even looks like then. They
Mhm.
still are in the mindset of being overweight or whatever. And that's what
When
they're
you
seeing.
when your journey to your desires is one of dissatisfaction, when you get to where you think you want it to be, there you are,
Yeah.
dissatisfied. There you are
Yeah.
again, still
Whoops.
dissatisfied,
Still
continually
there.
dissatisfied.
I love that. It's so true. It's so funny. Like for so long, and who knows? I don't know where my end point will be, where my home will be, one of these days. Um, but it was like my focus was on England. And,
Mhm.
I still feel energy there, but also know that I'm home is me.
Mm. It's
And
a
so
feeling.
it's a feeling. And so that's just funny. The conversation I had with the guy earlier that I'm going to go on a date with was
Mhm.
asking, like, would LA be your home? Like, could you see yourself living here? And I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, if it all felt right with the right person and everything, sure.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know until I meet that person. I don't know
Mhm.
until all those things happen and it feels choiceless to do so, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
But I'm not tied to a location anymore. I was so kind of like, oh, trying to make England happen at one point in my life. And it's just like, if that's meant is where I'm meant to reside, it will happen. It will come to me. And if that's not where I'm meant to reside because I'm meant to meet this other person somewhere else and be that will happen,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. I I I heard myself saying the other day, like, talking shit about Kentucky. And
Talking shit about Kentucky. I just love that line.
Thomas was telling someone who wasn't sure where she wanted to guide for the summer. Vegas is out in terms of guiding. It's just too hot here.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, I could get you a job in the Red River Gorge." And I was like, "Ew, why would you ever go there? It's in Kentucky." And then I'm like, "Why am I even saying this?" Because I know that in every given part of the particle of the universe, there's wanted and there's unwanted.
Mm.
And I can look at a place, I can look at a situation, I can look at a person, and I can focus on the aspects that are unwanted.
Yep.
And the same is available to me too.
Yeah.
I can look at Kentucky, and this is one of the places where Thomas actually would love to live. And I've always
Ah.
been like, "We're gonna have to separate if you wanna move to Kentucky." I'm like, "Why do I have to be so conditional?" Like, I get it, preferences. I can
Yeah,
have my preferences, but also I'm being
absolutely.
incredibly rigid and resistant to somewhere that has everything available within it, you know? Same thing with
Mm.
LA. People might I
Yes.
used to be that person. Well, when I was younger, I wanted to live there. And then as I got older, I rejected
Same.
materialism. And I was like,
Yes.
ew, LA, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, LA is huge. You know, when you say
Huge.
LA, you're not just talking about Los Angeles, you're talking about
No.
all the and there's so much within it.
Yes.
Anywhere you are, you can be imprisoned
Yes.
and focus on the stuff that's amazing and love prison. You
Yes.
can with your attention. Period.
Yes. Period.
Even
That's it.
Florida,
Even
even
Florida.
Kentucky.
Even Kentucky.
No offense, Kentucky yet. You know
No,
what?
no, no.
It's just my focus
Yes,
that's
it's so
got
true.
me thinking
I
that.
totally had that narrative around LA because I'm from the Bay Area, San Francisco,
Mhm.
Bay Area, like fuck LA. And now I'm like, I'm here. LA is pretty fucking great.
It's pretty cool. Like,
It's pretty
weather's
cool.
incredible. If we're just
Incredible.
comparing weather, like
Yeah, it's great.
no,
I
but we don't
mean,
need to compare. We don't
no,
need to
no,
do pros
no,
and cons.
no.
We focus on what we want and what we
Yes.
like and what's going well, and we get more of that.
Yes.
And it's
Period.
unconditional.
Yep. Yes, it's unconditional. I love that. Ah, so true.
Well, I feel like that's a good place to wrap today up.
Yeah, I think so too. That's how I'm feeling as well.
Yeah.
Hmm. Thanks for listening. You can visit us at www.itshappeningforyou.com for more information about upcoming episodes and previous episodes, and just learn more about us. Here we go.
And a 3, and a 2, and a 1, and a welcome to, right?
It's happening.
Let's start from the beginning.
It's Happening For You podcast with Robin Meharry
and Stephanie Lentini, the podcast about mastering the creation process and living a life of extraordinary possibilities.
Join us as we just talk every week and chat and share.
Have way too much fun. We love you.
We love you.
Thank you for being here with us.
And the beat drops.
And the beat drops.